We're following breaking news this morning. We're seeing reports that the White House plans to send ICE tactical units to 5 Democratic cities, including Seattle. This according to MSNBC. The other cities are Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, and Northern Virginia. They were recently used in Los Angeles and are considered one of the main reasons why those violent protests broke out. And this comes one day after protests outside the federal building in downtown Seattle. The protest over ICE raids happening across the nation was calm for most of the day, but took a turn later in the evening. Fox 13's Sean Chitness has more near the federal building.
We're seeing a typical start to the day here at 2nd and Madison as people have gone into the federal building, but we aren't seeing any protesters around this site. The few bikes and scooters that are here are being used by folks to get around the city. We know that there were some protesters around the building overnight, and some of those bikes were still being used to try and block the entrances to the building. So take a look at what we saw yesterday. This is video of protesters when they were able to pile up those bikes and anything else they could find to block cars from exiting the Henry M. Jackson Federal Building. These protests join demonstrations we've seen across the country this week. A common goal is to try and block ICE agents from taking anyone who is detained during an immigration hearing, where they are then usually sent to the Northwest ICE Processing Center in Tacoma. The protest was mostly peaceful for much of the day, and for hours last night in the early evening, protesters were able to block part of the building, and people inside did not leave. Seattle police showed up around 8 p.m., and protesters quickly ran into the street as they watched a van exit the building. There were confrontations between police and protesters, with officers using pepper spray and other tactics like non-lethal rounds to clear demonstrators. Later in the night, we did see some protesters burning an American flag. They tried to raise it on a flagpole, but weren't able to do it. President Trump had said just hours before that anyone who burns an American flag should spend a year in prison. And as we wait to see if there is any activity around the federal building later today, we do know that an anti-ICE protest is scheduled for this evening at Cal Anderson Park. Reporting in Seattle, Sean Chitness, Fox 13 News.
Thank you, Sean. As we know, Seattle is not the only city seeing these types of protests. In New York, protesters in Manhattan scuffled with police last night. Several hundred people were reportedly part of the demonstrations, and several were arrested. And in Chicago, a car drove through a group of protesters there. Hundreds of people were out when the driver swerved through the crowd, forcing people to jump out of the way. It is unclear if anyone was hurt. And in Los Angeles, as we've been reporting all morning, a curfew has been imposed for a portion of downtown after days of protests there. It started at 8 each night and is going to go until 6 in the morning. A group of students and their supporters are angry about the expulsion of the campus group Students United for Palestinian Equality and Return, or SUPER for short. They rallied near the U District light rail station last night. Last month, SUPER was at the center of the occupation of an engineering building on campus funded by Boeing.
I'm very concerned about this trend of the tech companies starting to get into weapons manufacturing and using their AI and their technology to do things that have not been vetted by any kind of ethics committee.
According to the university, last month's occupation caused more than $1 million in damage and led to several student suspensions. SUPER says those suspensions and expulsions included 4 students who were set to graduate. The group says that students weren't given due process before being let go.